This is the single most powerful man in India in the year 1540. We are catching him at a slightly awkward moment. That is the Mughal Emperor, son of the great conqueror Babur, heir to the mightiest war machine in the subcontinent, and he is currently doing the backstroke across a river in full armor for his life. He is being rescued, and I want to stress that this is genuinely real, by a man with an inflated goatskin. Because the empire that just beat him wasn't built by a warlord or a chosen prince. It was built by a middle-aged accountant from Bihar. A man whose actual literal superpower was paperwork. This is the story of Sher Shah Suri, the clerk who deleted an empire, redesigned a whole country, and built the machine the Mughals would later get famous for. And then, because the universe has a sense of humor, blew himself up. But to appreciate the accountant, you first have to appreciate just how enormous the thing was that he beat. In 1526, a Central Asian adventurer named Babur rode down through the mountain passes, won a battle at a place called Panipat, and founded the Mughal Empire. It was vast, it was glamorous, it was also about 4 years old and held together with hope and strength. Babur himself wasn't exactly in love with the place.
I have conquered Hindustan. The heat is appalling, the fruit is disappointing, and there is no good ice anywhere. I would quite like to go home.
Babur died in 1530, and the whole shiny, half-finished empire landed on his eldest son, Humayun.
I shall be a wise and beloved emperor. Also, my astrologers say Thursdays are extremely auspicious for me, so I will mostly be ruling on Thursdays.
Humayun was charming, cultured, generous, and brave. He was also dreamy, indecisive, fond of opium, and absolutely ruinous at one specific thing: saying no to his family. He had 3 half-brothers. They spent their entire lives trying to take his throne. He kept rewarding them for it.
Brother, I would never betray you. Quick, unrelated question. How many guards are on you tonight? Asking for, your safety.
Oh, Kamran, you scamp. Here, take Kabul and Punjab. And for, you know what? Have Kandahar too.
So that is the mighty Mughal Empire. New, rich, gorgeous, and quietly being hollowed out from the inside by its own relatives. Now, 600 miles to the east, in Bihar, there is a man you would never look at twice. His name is Farid Khan. His family are Afghans, minor nobility, the sort that manage a few estates for bigger men. And Farid has a problem at home. A stepmother who wants the inheritance for her own sons. So young Farid gets quietly edged out. So he does the most devastating thing a sidelined young man can possibly do. He goes to the city of Jaunpur and he reads history, administration, Persian poetry, how taxes actually work, how land actually works, how you make a thing run. Then he comes back and asks his father for the one job nobody else wanted: managing the family estates.
Bring me the records, all of them, every field, every farmer, every coin owed. We are going to measure it.
Measure. All of it, sir. Nobody measures all of it. We mostly just guess and then threaten people.
Which is exactly why everyone is poor and everyone is cheating. We measure the land. We write down what each farmer owes. We give him a paper. And nobody gets to invent a number.
And it worked. The peasants knew their dues. The cheats had nowhere to hide. The land produced more, the treasury filled up, and Farid the estate manager quietly became the most competent man in eastern India. Remember this scene. The entire rest of the story is just this: the estate getting bigger. His talents got noticed. He took service with the king of Bihar, a man called Farid Khan. And then there was the tiger. The way the chroniclers tell it, and they do love a good story, a tiger threatened the king on a hunt, and Farid killed it, up close, by himself.
Extraordinary. From this day, you are no longer Farid. You shall be called Sher Khan, the lion.
Sher Khan, the lion. Did it happen exactly like that? Maybe, but the man had understood something the tiger never did. A good story is worth 10,000 soldiers. He even spent a stretch in Mughal service, close enough to study the Mughal court from the inside.
They are lazy. They do not know this country. They do not count anything. Nobody writes anything down. Interesting.
He filed that away. Sher Khan filed everything away. Back east, Sher Khan made himself indispensable. Guardian to the heir, commander of the army, keeper of the treasury, until one day he looked around and realized he didn't actually need the king he was working for. So he stopped working for him. He took Bihar, Then he did the thing that turns a strong man into a genuine threat. He marched on Bengal, the richest province in the east, and seized its capital, Gaur, and its bottomless treasury with it. Now he had money, mountains of it, and a disciplined Afghan army that, and this was revolutionary, actually got paid. On time. The estate was now the size of a kingdom, which is roughly the moment the Mughal emperor finally noticed him.
Who is this grain counter in the east? Send word that I am coming. I'm sure he'll see reason the moment he sees the size of my army.
In 1539, Humayun marched east with a magnificent army and met Sher Khan near a place called Chausa on the banks of the Ganga. And Sher Khan, who had never once read a rule of chivalry he couldn't ignore, did the sensible thing. He stole.
Tell the emperor I am terrified. Tell him I beg to negotiate. Tell him whatever he likes, and keep him talking until the monsoon turns his camp into a swamp.
He dragged the talks out for weeks, while the proud Mughal army sat in the mud, getting sick and bored. And then, in the dark before dawn, he attacked the sleeping camp. It was not a battle. It was a demolition. The magnificent Mughal army was broken where it slept, and the Emperor of Hindustan ran for the river. Which brings us right back to where we came in. Humayun, in the water, in his armor, going down.
Grab the skin, Majesty. Grab it. It's full of air. Do not argue about water with a water carrier.
A humble water carrier named Nizam floated the Emperor of India across the Ganga on an inflated goatskin. Humayun survived, just barely. Legend says a grateful Humayun later let Nizam sit on the imperial throne for half a day, which is either a touching reward or the single worst staffing decision in Mughal history. Sher Khan, meanwhile, had a more permanent promotion in mind. He had just beaten an emperor. So he stopped being a Khan. He had his own coin struck, his name read aloud in the prayers, and he became Sher Shah, king.
The accountant is now the king. Do try to keep up.
But Humayun was not finished. He went home, raised a second army, even bigger, even more dazzling. And in 1540, the two sides met again at Kannauj. On paper, the Mughals should have won easily. They had the numbers, they had the war elephants, they had the guns, they had everything. What they did not have was a single person actually willing to help the emperor.
Fight for Humayun in this economy? No. I'll be in Lahore, looking after my own interests. Good luck though, truly.
His brothers held back their troops, his commanders bickered, and Sher Shah's disciplined, unglamorous, extremely well-paid Afghans simply walked through them. It was a rout. Humayun fled the field, and this time, there was no second chance waiting. He ran west. He lost Lahore. He lost Sindh. He wandered the desert with a shrinking band of loyalists until he washed up, a refugee, a king of nothing, at the court of the Shah of Persia. The Mughal Empire, Babur's great gift to his sons, had just been switched off by a clerk from Bihar. Sher Shah was now master of the north, from Bengal in the east to the Indus in the west. He was also, by this point, well past 60 years old. He had spent his entire life being underestimated. And he had, by most accounts, about 5 years left. So he did not waste a single one of them. Other conquerors built monuments to themselves. Sher Shah built infrastructure. This is the part the history books rush past. And it is, genuinely, the best part. Problem number 1, money. The coinage was chaos. 100 different debased, clipped, dodgy coins, and nobody quite sure what any of them were worth.
Melt all of it down. We mint one honest coin. A fixed weight of pure silver. The same in Bengal as it is on the Indus. The same today as in 100 years.
He issued a standardized silver coin of a fixed weight, backed by fixed amounts of copper. He called it the Rupee. You might know it by its slightly newer name, the Rupee. The coin in your pocket right now is, in essence, his, roughly 500 years old.
Sir, this actually changes everything. A merchant in the East can trust the same coin a merchant in the West does. The whole country can just trade.
Trust is just good accounting that everyone has agreed to believe.
Problem number 2, the country was vast and slow. A message could take weeks, an army could take months. So Sher Shah rebuilt the country's spine. He revived and extended a great road running clear across the north, from Bengal all the way to the Indus. Today, we call it the Grand Trunk Road. People still drive on it. He lined it with shade trees and wells. And then he did the genuinely clever bit. Every few miles along the road, a sarai, a rest house, free lodging and food, a well, separate kitchens for Hindu and Muslim travelers. Chroniclers credit him with around 1,700 of them. And the sarais did a second job. Fast horses waited at each one, so a message could be handed rider to rider, racing across the empire in days, not weeks. He revived the royal post.
I want to hear about a rebellion in Bengal before the rebels have finished deciding to rebel.
Roads, rest houses, a postal relay, a nervous system. He was turning a war camp into a working state, on purpose and at speed. But the masterpiece, the thing he had been rehearsing his entire life, was the land. He sent surveyors across the empire to measure the farmland, every field, sorted by how good it was, exactly what he'd done as a young estate manager. Except now, the estate was all of North India.
Measure it. Write down precisely what each farmer owes. Give him a paper that says it and fix the share, so that no official ever can show up and invent a bigger number.
So, I get a document that says what I owe? And that's the number? A taxman can't just turn up and take whatever he feels like?
That is the number. And if my soldiers so much as trample your crop, the army pays you for the damage. Write that down too.
What kind of king is this?
A pro-farmer tax code in the 1540s. It was so good that the Mughals, when they eventually came crawling back, would copy it almost word for word and take all the credit. He ran the same hard, even-handed justice for a rich noble as for a poor farmer, which made him beloved and feared in exactly the right proportions. 5 years, a new currency, a national road, a postal system, a fair tax code, an actual functioning government. The estate manager had built the machine. And then, in 1545, he rode off to besiege a fortress called Kalinjar, a tough old hill fort perched on a rock, held by a Rajput Raja and absolutely refusing to fall.
Tell the king of the north he may have his road, his coin and his paperwork. He will not have this rock.
The siege dragged on, and Sher Shah, a man who had never in his life met a delay he could tolerate, got impatient. So he turned to gunpowder.
Pile the explosives against the wall. All of it. If the rock will not open, then we will open it.
They hurled firebombs and rockets at the fort, and one of them struck the wall, bounced back, and landed in his own stockpile of gunpowder. The man who had survived a tiger, 2 emperors, and a lifetime of being written off, was undone by his own ammunition. He held on just long enough to be told that Kalinjar had finally fallen. And then the most capable ruler of the age was gone. He had built a perfect machine. He had simply forgotten to build anyone capable of running it. His son, Islam Shah, held the empire together for a few years. Competent, harsh, effective. And then he died. And the Sur family did the traditional thing.
The throne is mine. I am the rightful Sir King.
And so said the next cousin, and the brother after him, and the general after him. The machine was flawless. The owners were a disaster. And far away in Persia, a certain refugee emperor heard all this and quietly started packing. In 1555, 15 years after he had backstroked across that river, Humayun came back. With the Sur Empire busy tearing itself apart, he marched into Delhi and took back the throne his family had lost.
I have returned. The Mughal Empire is restored. And honestly, I barely had to lift a finger. They did it entirely to themselves.
And then, 6 months later, Humayun was hurrying down the stone steps of his library tower, a tower standing in his old rival's citadel, heard the call to prayer, went to kneel, slipped, and fell. The dynasty Sher Shah deleted had clawed its way back from the dead, and then immediately tripped down the stairs, which left the entire Mughal Empire to Humayun's 13-year-old son, a boy named Akbar. And here is the part that would have made Sher Shah laugh, or possibly scream. That boy, Akbar, would grow into the greatest of all the Mughal emperors. Celebrated for his administration, his standardized coin, his brilliant land revenue survey, his roads, his efficient, fair, centralized state. Almost every one of those famous achievements he inherited. From the estate manager, his own family had been chased out of the country by. Akbar didn't invent the machine. He scaled it, he polished it, and he put his name on it. But the blueprint was Sher Shah's. So what do you do with a man like Sher Shah Suri? He ruled for 5 years. He founded no lasting dynasty. Most people outside India have never even heard his name. And yet, he beat the Mughals so completely they had to flee the country. He built the roads still doing his work across the north. He wrote the tax system a greater emperor took the credit for. And he put a coin in your pocket that is still there 1,000 years later. The boy his stepmother pushed out. The clerk nobody bothered to promote. The man whose superpower was simply that he counted things and actually cared whether the numbers were fair. He out-administered an empire to death. And then, completely true to form, he went out via the single most over-engineered accident in Indian history. Sher Shah Suri, the accountant who conquered India, redesigned it, accidentally handed the blueprint to his enemies, and got blown up by his own gunpowder. Always read the label on the explosives.